Happy Monday, diehards, degenerate gamblers, my MMA fans. How's everybody doing today? What is going on, people? There's no UFC this week. There is no UFC this week. We are coming off of UFC 303, which was maybe the weirdest pay-per-view in UFC history. I mean, the way the card fell apart at every opportunity and then came back together somehow, and then ended up being pretty damn good. I honestly can't complain about the action that we had at UFC 303. There were a few more decisions than you'd like to see, but for the most part, it was a pretty fun card. The one thing I can complain about, however, are my gambling results this week. You got to be fucking kidding me. We're in the hole again, guys. We're in the hole. We've got some work to do. Thank God we still have a couple of months. Go ahead and dig ourselves out of this one. We're trying to make history in 2024 by avoiding a negative year after a big positive year, because that's been my MO, is alternating winning year, losing year, winning year, losing year. I want to break the skid. And every single time I get just this close to being even, I'm right there. I'm ready to go positive. Shit like last night happens, or last Saturday, whatever. We're a couple of days out. How's everybody doing in the chat this evening? What is up? We got my guy Dream. We've got Joshua Snyder. We got Mac in the house. We got Jonathan Wolf, Crucifix MMA. What is going on? Saint Trunks, Andy in the house. MMA Clips. What's up, everybody? Thank you all so much for being here this evening. Real quickly, first order of business, right off the top, I got to go ahead and give a huge shout out and thank you to my guy, Luke Thomas from Morning Combat. We got the shout out today on Morning Combat. And on top of that, there's a certain member who is regularly in the comment section and the chat of these live streams that deserves to have his back patted. Let's check it out.
I told you about the OnlyFans fade, right?
Yeah.
Nocita, have you heard about this?
No, I'm listening though.
I was on another guy's podcast, Clint out of MMA Diehards, right? And he told me that they have an OnlyFans fade, so that if a fighter, typically it's a woman, obviously, but not always, if they have an OnlyFans account, they automatically fade them, and that apparently this hits routinely.
Where's Dixon Sider's fine ass at? Dixon, my man, where are you at? You better be watching this. My guy, the OnlyFans feed was shouted out on Morning Combat today. We are going places, people. We've made it. We've officially made it. We've got Luke Thomas and BC talking the OnlyFans fade. We brought it to the mainstream. So we're famous. We're officially famous. We are up. That's what's up, diehards. Hope everybody is kicking some ass. Let's freaking go. All right. So, hey, you guys know the deal. It's a break week. We don't have PFL to talk about this week. We don't have Bellator to talk about this week. There's really nothing going on. So I'm planning on recapping UFC 303. We can talk through the card. We can talk through the bets. And then, of course, if you guys have any comments, questions, whatever, I'm watching the chat today. There's no guest or anything like that. So you guys are the guest. You guys are the focal point. I'll read what you guys got coming up. And if we can, address anything as we go, of course, I'll take breaks. And if we want to peek ahead at next week's card, we can take a quick look. If you guys have anything specifically you want to cover as far as news and notes, and, I don't have a schedule lined up or anything like that for us on this week's show. I don't often do these types of podcasts. Maybe I should start doing that, where we actually go over news and modern things and stuff like that. But I don't have time, unfortunately. Maybe one day we'll start a sequel podcast that's not just about betting. Anyway, let's freaking go. Locked in MMA says, why don't you play overs and unders in MMA? And that's the thing. I actually do. I just have an easier time finding my perceived version of value on a lot of money lines. I do play totals they're just few and far between for me because I don't feel super confident about them. Like, for instance, we'll get to it, but at UFC 303, one of the ones that I kind of had circled, the one that I really had my eye on, two of them, was the under in Ricky Simone and Vinicius Oliveira, and then the under in Cub Swanson and Andre Fili. Both those went to decisions. So it's just that I've got a better feel for money lines. Like, I talk them through. I actually do a Thursday show every single week, Total Takedown, where I talk overs and unders based on the betting lines. If you haven't checked that show out, you should probably give it a look. From what I've heard, the predictions seem to do pretty well, but I don't have the same confidence in some of those plays. So usually when I'm doing totals, it's only one or two a card maybe, whereas I'm able to really define who I think's got a real shot in the fight. Ian Gary could have gotten a finish this weekend, right? That could have definitely been an under, but I was way more confident in him getting the win, and that could have gone all 15. It did. He got his hand raised. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it works out for me. It's the way my brain works, unfortunately. But hey, great question. Uncle Rico says, can we start out by talking Dan the Man Ige? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Because Dan Ige is a fucking boss. The man came in on 3 hours notice. Like, the fight card had already started, and we get a dropped out opponent, and they call this man up. Holy hell. And then he almost won by TKO in the 3rd round. I mean, we'll get there. We got to talk about it. We've got to absolutely talk about that fight. We'll get there, but we got to give Dan Ige his props. Freaking Matt Campbell says, what matchups to make after 303? That's interesting. I don't usually play matchmaker, but I think you've got to slow down with Ray Tasuria, right? That kid needs some seasoning. Vinicius Oliveira, on the other hand, needs to get on a rocket ship and head straight up the chain. Martin Buday needs another 2 years of training to be ready for a step up in competition, obviously. And Peyton Talbott, God, I hope that they make that fight. I think he called out Yanez. I would love to see Talbott versus Yanez. That is such a good call out. Cannot wait to see what that kid does next. Poof on the beat, my man. What's up? Thank you very much for being here. All right, let's get going here, guys. So first fight of the night, we mentioned it already. Ricky Simone, Vinicius Oliveira. I thought this thing was going under. I really did. I did end up going ahead and putting a half unit shot on Vinicius Oliveira by KO TKO. It was plus 400. And I said, guys, that so early lean in the week was like, man, I kind of think Ricky's maybe the side, but I didn't want to stand in the way of Vinicius Oliveira, and I didn't want to lay that kind of chalk. I've got concerns about Ricky's chin. And then when I saw them face off, I was just like, holy shit, Oliveira's huge. This guy is so massive. I think Ricky's going to have a hard time holding him down. So I decided I kind of wanted to be on the dog side here, but I really felt like Oliveira's money line was his knockout, right? I did not ever expect him to win a decision. And this right here is gambling 101, right? Like, it's gambling, folks. I don't know who had the Vinicius Oliveira by decision ticket. Not me. That wasn't me. I never had that in a million years. So I put a half unit shot on Oliveira by knockout at plus 400 because I assumed that if he was gonna win the fight, it was gonna be by KO. He had Ricky Simone hurt a couple different times in the fight, but he showed more IQ than I expected him to have, and he won the fight the way he needed to. He got close to the knockout a few times. So I'm pretty bummed out that I didn't just go money line, because he was a 2-1 underdog, and I was this close to being right there and getting on the right side of the train, but I found a way to get a little too fancy and messed up on that one. Steph, I am not intending to mess you up here. Let me scroll back here real quick. Steph is saying on the Undefeated Post weigh-in show while the song is playing, are you headbanging with us and getting your game face on? Absolutely. Steph, I gotta tell you guys, I'm maybe, I don't know if this makes me like the best podcast host ever or the worst podcast host ever. I fucking love my music. Both the intro to the DieHard MMA podcast and Bet the Fury, which is the intro for the Undefeated Post weigh-in show. I love both of those songs. I turn it up and I'm back here doing this thing. I get amped up before my show the same as you guys do. So I'm glad so many of you like the music coming in on it, because I handpicked my podcast intro song. And then my best friend in the world, shout out to you, Josh. He actually, it's crazy. He AI generated Bet the Fury, which is what we use for the Undefeated post weigh-in show. And then he like bought the rights to using the song so that I could use it for the podcast. Like, dude's an absolute boss. He spent some time doing some chat GPT shit that I have no idea what he's doing, and got that thing made for us with some kick-ass music. So yeah, I'm absolutely headbanging in the back there every time I'm playing all my intro music. Luck Day, yeah. We can look ahead to the next UFC card. Obviously, it'd be like top of the head analysis. I haven't done any tape study or anything like that, but we can definitely look ahead to some of that. MMA clip saying that Ricky Simone looked terrible, and the fact that he wasn't slamming the calf kick after Oliveira broke his leg was frustrating. Yeah, man, I gotta wonder. I don't know if Ricky was maybe like sick, not 100%, something, or if he just got popped and like really was worried about protecting himself, because he backed off early in that fight. And Ricky Simone is not a backpedaling guy. So the fact that he was backpedaling the entire fight was unusual. I kind of thought that he would go for broke and go out on his shield, but like he might have been in survival mode the entire fight and just looking to get to the bell. You know what I mean? That's entirely possible. And I had this conversation with my father-in-law, everybody's favorite mush, my father-in-law. We were talking about this one. And if you don't have somebody who wants to fight you, if you don't have someone that's willing to come forward, it's real hard to finish them. Like if they're only focusing on defense, it's tough to take them out because they're just looking to defend. The openings aren't there the same way as someone who's looking to attack. So yeah, it's interesting when stuff like that happens. You got to wonder what's going on. Any Action is saying favorites are 32-6 the last 3 pay-per-views. That's insane. Yeah, shout out my guy Lou for that stat. Yeah, that's wild. That is absolutely wild. And it's funny because 2023 was a year coming off a similar situation, because 2022 was like, if you guys remember anything like listening to Yanni the Greek, we got to get him back on the podcast, by the way. He was talking in 2022 how it was like a legendary run of UFC favorites, where like any tracking he had done, there had never been that many favorites. And I, of course, had an awful year in 2022 because the underdogs were not barking. And then in 2023, the flip switched. And all of a sudden, the live dogs were starting to get that positive variance, and they started coming through. And lo and behold, a dog hunter like me had the best year of my life, right? Like, shocker. The dogs are barking all year, and I'm cashing tickets left and right. 2024 has been a bit of a mixed bag. I've played some chalk, and those are my good nights because the dogs are not barking this year. And I'm letting my poor boy Link down. My dog of the week record is awful because there's like one dog per card, and that's hard as shit to predict when you got one shot at it. I'm missing. I need some dogs here at the end of the year so I can get that number right, so I can get my boy what he deserves. All right. So the second fight, we touched on it ever so briefly. Ray taking on Carlos Hernandez. I had a bunch of people getting on me about this one because I did bet Carlos Hernandez. I put 2 units on his money line at like plus 360. And everyone was like, why? Why would you do that? First off, let me tell you guys, I made a mistake. And it wasn't putting 2 units on Carlos Hernandez because, guys, this fight played out almost exactly like I expected it to. The first 2 rounds of this fight were insanely scrambly, and they're ones where you could have found ways to score it for Hernandez. Or if he had just gotten on top once or twice, if he had landed a couple of shots, like those were very tight, very grapply, very scrambly type of rounds that were all based on control. And that's kind of what I expected, right? And then the deeper the fight went, the more Hernandez I expected to take over. And indeed, in round 3, he was the fresher man, and he did, in fact, take over. And he didn't have any finishing opportunity. He was looking for the sub. I sprinkled the sub at 14-1. We sprinkled the round 3 sub at 14-1. That's where we wanted to be. It was pretty much perfect. The kid got tired. Hernandez was still there, but the kid was solid enough to survive, and he didn't get tapped out deep in the fight, which, that's what happens. But to me, that doesn't scream minus 500 favorite. I'm actually happy with the bet on Carlos Hernandez. And the reason I put 2 units on it was because if Hernandez had been able to turn up just a little bit sooner, if he had managed to squeeze in that second round, if we had driven this thing to a split decision, or even if he had gotten that sub, obviously, in the third round, I thought this was the fraud check, right? Now, you don't want to call it a fraud check when a kid's 22 years old. You don't want to say someone got fraud checked when they're young, because they're still improving, they're still growing, they're still learning. But at the end of the day, this is a 22-year-old kid. And so my thought was, if he gets caught in this fight, the one no one's expecting him to get caught in, I'm getting paid damn near 4-1, and that's not happening again. That number will not be the same number. They're going to give him softer matchmaking. They're going to give him a year and a half off to train and get better and develop and grow. And you know what I mean? Like, it just would never be the same situation ever again. I kind of thought it was now or never, because he's going to keep getting better. So I took a bigger shot on it, knowing full well that I might be the one with my pockets turned out at the end of the night, because I wanted to score 8 units on a win. I wanted the big cash with him showing up and blowing everybody's parlays. We were close. Didn't quite happen. I knew the risk when I took it, but the mistake I made, Steph has already sniffed it out. Why didn't I take the point spread? Guys, I looked at this point spread, and I hung out at the DraftKings Sportsbook for this fight again this week. And right before the fights kicked off, I got like a bonus. Sometimes they do like those step up bonuses where like you get 10% per leg of the parlay, so you can end up with like an 80 or 100% bonus or whatever. And when I was building out this parlay that I wanted to throw on to just sweat for shits and giggles throughout the fights, I went, holy shit, the plus 3.5 on DraftKings for Carlos Hernandez was plus 180. Plus 3.5. That means he's just got to win one round. He doesn't even have to win the fight. He just needs one judge, one round apiece, and that bet cashes, and it was plus money. Usually you've got to lay like minus 150 or something on that kind of a bet, because they can manage to win one round. No one was even giving him credit to win one round. That was the bet. I didn't even see it. It was sitting at the sports book, putting a last-minute degenerate Hail Mary boost parlay together that I finally saw the fucking thing. I need to pay more attention to those, because the plus 3.5 at plus 180 would have been a smash spot, you guys. I would have gone bigger than 2 units on that. The fact that it was plus money and all I needed was my guy to survive, instead of going hard on a plus 360 money line, I still would have put a unit on that, by the way. I absolutely still would have put money on the money line, hoping for him to win. But if I'm predicting that this guy can outright win the fight, he's not going to get finished. It's going the distance. And I think he's going to get his hand raised. Like, split decision, 29-28. Those are straight up winners at plus odds. I should have bet the spread, and I didn't even think about it until the night of the fight. So I feel pretty dumb for missing that one. That was my bad. MMA Clips in the chat. Yeah, a lot of people were playing over 1.5 and fight goes the distance. And that was a great move. That definitely was the lower variance option, and those people got rewarded for those bets. So very, very happy for everybody that went ahead and made money in those spots. You guys know me. I took the big shot, right? I'm willing to go out there and look stupid, and I get to pound my chest when I'm right. I don't think I look stupid on that one. That's one where I think I would go back and I'd be willing to make that bet again, the way the fight played out. I don't think Ray looked like a minus 500 favorite, maybe for the first 3 minutes, but it was very competitive the entire fight. I'm fine with that bet. That's the kind of bet that I'm more than fine with playing. Next up, Martin Buday and Andre Arlovski. I had Buday in a parlay, guys, and that was one of the few things that saved me. When I was looking through my card, it's funny. I make my bets in a vacuum, right? Like, I watch the fights, I do the research, and I go, I want to bet this, I want to bet this, I want to bet that. And then I pull those triggers. And I don't think about, and maybe this is a weakness of mine. I know probably like legitimate sharp and professional bettors probably don't do this, but I don't look at my whole card and be like, okay, I have to frame it this way. It's got to do this. I've got a max risk of this many units for this one card. Like, I don't think that way. I don't do it that way. And so when I was looking at my card, when I was all said and done, I was pretty happy with it. But there were 2 or 3 things on it that I was like, you know what? Those are going to cover the rest of the night, right? Like, I'm not going to have a losing night because this one, and this one, I'm like for sure hitting. And the parlay with Buday and Pyfer was the one that I was like, I should have put more money on that. Those felt good. boy, was I wrong about Martin Buday. This was a split decision, and Andre Arlovski tried to rob me again. That old fuck, he tried so many times. You know how many split decisions I've lost on Andre Arlovski, guys? A lot of them. A lot of them. I've been fading this man for like the last 5 years of his career, and every single split decision that he gets rewarded with has cost my ass. So I was scared shitless going to the decision here on this one. I talked up Buday. The man got his black belt. He's training with the heavyweight champ. Like, how did he go out there and look that bad? How did he go out there and look that bad? I am floored. I am disgusted. I have got to be super careful with Martin Buday because he might just suck, guys. I mean, like, it's one of those things where he is 33 years old and he may just be terrible. I kind of thought he had the frame. He had the physicality. He could have turned the corner. He's got an okay skill set. He's decently durable. He's got good enough cardio. Like, it all looks like it's there. But fuck, he might just have like an athletic ceiling. And it might have come a whole lot quicker than I expected. So I'm pumping the brakes on any kind of Buday parlays moving forward. He got the win. He did what he needed to do. But that felt uncomfortable. And the fact that it went to a decision had my butthole puckered for the last 6 or so minutes because I knew we needed round 3. Absolutely needed round 3 in that spot. Yeah, Mac is saying I'll never put Buday in a parlay again. I get it. I was terrified. I was so scared. Oh my God. Uncle Rico saying I got hooked because you're a degenerate like me. That's what's up, Uncle Rico. That's what I'm all about, baby. Hey, I know you guys know, right? Those of you who are in the chat with me, you guys know, but we've got over 600 live viewers going on right now. There's a lot of people ever since I moved over to Home and Fight that are new to the podcast. You guys maybe don't know. I'm not the best. I don't claim to be. I'm not trying to be. I'm here to be a degenerate. I'm here to have fun. I do want to give you guys valuable resources and information. I try to get sponsors that benefit you guys in some way. I try to do all the research I can to tell you guys stuff that you don't know, to bring you information that can help you in your handicapping process. I want to provide a service. The guests that come on every single week, they're all better than me. They're all smarter than me. They've been doing this longer than me. They have better records than me. Most of them make people pay for their information, but they come on my show for free. I'm trying to provide a service to you guys, but at the end of the day, my ass is a degenerate. I'll bet anything. And I'm not the best gambler in the world. And I don't manage stuff the way I'm supposed to. Like I was talking about the way I build my cards earlier. That's the thing. I'm here for fun. I'm here for a good time. I want to turn a profit. It is something that is important to me to make sure I'm a long-term winner in MMA because I wouldn't just sit up here and maybe that's not true. If I was a long-term losing person, maybe I'd go full fade god and just have fun with that. But the fact that I am actually a long-term winner, I'm like, it's important to me in the long run that I am actually turning a profit, even if it's a small one. You know, the way I see it, if you go to the casino in the evening and you hit one jackpot and you donate the rest of the night, but you got free drinks and you come home even, that's a good night. You know, I'm not trying to pay my mortgage on MMA, guys. I'm not. So if I come home with a couple extra bucks, if I can make a payment on my credit card every quarter of the year or take my family on a vacation and pay for a hotel one night because we had one good event, that's what I'm here for. That's what it's about. I'm having fun. So I know people get all hung up on being the best and wanting to, you know, make their mark on the MMA space and pound my chest and bro, you got to learn from me. And I can't tell you guys, after I have like a losing skid, I have a couple losing events, the amount of people that come out of the woodwork trying to help me, it's sickening. It's like, guys, I've been doing this shit for 6 years. All right. I've been doing this for 6 years. I've got a long-term winning record. I know MMA like the back of my hand. Maybe I had a couple bad events, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not batting an eyelid about it. I'm going to pin my ears back and keep pressing forward. And you watch, we'll turn it around. And the people that think they can just straight up fade God me, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. I don't need to go on like a rant about all that, but it's impossible to fade me. The way I play MMA, like mathematically, it's literally impossible because you'd be playing a lot of chalky favorites. And when my dogs bark, your favorites are going down and you're paying way the wrong price when that happens. It's literally impossible to fade. One of these days, I'm going to do like a short video and I'm going to get like a whiteboard and I'm going to like put the numbers up there. I'll be like Charlie Day with with the cigarette and all the connected dots. And I'm going to like show people how it's impossible to actually fade me. It's really funny when people say that. I literally laugh because I know they're trying to like hurt me and hurt my feelings. Guys, my feelings died a long time ago. Don't worry about it. So it's a good time. It's a fucking good time. Mac asking if I've got a Discord. So I don't have a personal Discord, but if you look in the description of this video, I am sponsored by Home of Fight, guys, and I do have my own channel in the Home of Fight Discord. It's free. If you guys want to come jump in there, it's a bunch of other degenerates and MMA fans. Free to jump in. And if you want to see like my picks, my bets, my results, I've got a channel in that Discord where you can follow everything. And then I'm in there talking fights and stuff with everybody else. So Discord link in the description below. That's the place where I'm active as far as Discord goes. And yeah, we're going to have some fun in there for sure. We were talking about hockey. You know, there's a bunch of trades and shit like that were going on today. And I was talking about the Nashville Predators with people in the Discord. So yeah, come hang out for sure. Dirty Reg, you know I like you. That's what's up, my guy. Thank you very much. And we got Joe. What's going on, man? Thank you. I appreciate that. We're only 2 fights in, guys. We're like 2-3 fights in on the recap. We got to speed this up just a little bit. Michelle Waterson Gomez, Jillian Robertson. I feel really bad that I kind of shortchanged my girl Jillian. She's looked so much better at 115 pounds. You know, as a fan, you know, I've got love for my girl Jillian. I completely figured out the weakness with her was the wrestling, the physicality. She couldn't take these girls down at 125. And I said, fuck, we're going to make so much money on her at 115 because she's just going to steamroll people at 115. She'll be bigger and stronger. And the takedowns that she couldn't get at 125 are going to happen at 115. And then I saw this spot and I got cold feet, man. I don't know what it was because Michelle Waterson has been so competitive in a couple of her most recent fights that I really thought the takedown defense, the footwork, the movement, the speed, I really thought those things were going to give Jillian some trouble. Shit, it wasn't trouble at all. She walked her down, ate 2 or 3 punches to the face and said, bitch, get on the floor. Like it was easy. All you guys that had money on Jillian Robertson, congratulations. Excellent bet. You know, I try to separate my gambling from my heart. There's only a couple fighters where my heart truly is involved too much that I can't make a good gambling read. Alexander Volkov, Jillian Robertson, Merab might be getting close. But those are the ones that I really kind of struggle to see the game plan clearly for because I'm just, you know, I've got that long-term fanship of them and it's easy to bet them in easy spots. But when the waters get a little murky, it's hard for me to kind of dissect and actually make a good bet. Lay it with Jillian all day in this spot. All you guys that got in there on Jillian Robertson, beautiful, beautiful work. She looked so much better. Michelle Waterson looked every bit 38 years old. But the big thing, guys, the big thing that in hindsight, you know, Captain Hindsight, when they were walking out, I saw Waterson getting emotional. And it ran through my head. I went, oh, shit, she's about to retire. I was at DraftKings. My father-in-law and his best friend showed up, and we started doing shots. And that was like right at the moment where like our drinks showed up, so we're cheersing. And I would have emptied the bankroll on Jillian, guys. If I had been in like my proper mindset, if I had been here at home, locked in, had my betting app open, I would have just suddenly dumped so much money on Jillian Robertson if I had been thinking about it. But we were just getting the night going. I had some fresh buffalo wings in front of me and we had just gotten our first shot and we were catching up. And so I was not in the right mindset to be throwing cash around. I'm pissed off because I could have made at least 3 car payments on a Jillian Robertson bet because at that moment I knew Michelle was retiring. Missed opportunities. I do want to say congrats to Michelle Waterson, though. I know a lot of people gave them shit for like the send-off they gave her and stuff like that. And I feel like that's so unfair. She's legitimately a pioneer in this sport. Women's MMA is on the face of the planet because of people like Raquel Pennington and the Karate Hottie. Man, when women's MMA was like just getting started, you needed to be attractive. Nobody gave a shit about Cyborg. You know what I mean? Like, they had to have a couple of eye catchers at the beginning. It's a male dominated sport, and they were not going to watch a couple of uggos slamming each other around a cage back in the day. It just wasn't going to work. You needed a couple of women that really captured people. And by people, I mean men that watch mixed martial arts. We wouldn't be here today with the sport of women's MMA if it hadn't been for pioneers like Michelle Waterson. So we owe her a big debt of gratitude. She's put on some fun fights. She's had an incredible career. Yes, the ending has been rough for those of you McGregor babies who are only fans of mixed martial arts since Conor McGregor lit the world on fire. You guys just don't understand. You don't get how good and how fun someone like Michelle Waterson was, especially early in her career. I know I'm a boomer right now. I know I'm telling you guys about shit that you should have known before you were born, etc. You're not going to go back and do the tape or the research, but she very much deserved that send-off. For the people who know, for the people who remember, deserved. And thank you, Michelle Waterson. Thank you for everything. Very much appreciated. For the preliminary card, not the early prelims, my boy Peyton Talbott made quick work. Oh, so we had a 7-unit max bet this week, guys, and leg one was my boy Peyton Talbott. I got in before the insane live move happened. It was maybe the funniest thing to happen the entire weekend was Daniel Cormier being told the betting odds and being like, no way, I can't wrap my head around it. Why is this kid a 16-1 favorite? It makes no sense. Nobody in a fight is a 16-1 favorite. And then literally like the second punch of the fight, bang, like Grimori just crumbles. I thought Grimori, guys, was smart enough not to do that shit. He must have had a chip on his shoulder. Like somebody must have gotten in his ear before that fight or something, because this guy uses footwork and he controls the distance and the range and he moves around the cage. And that's always been his MO. For him to step in there against a guy like Talbott and just immediately blast forward, that was very uncharacteristic. But the timing of Peyton Talbott was so gorgeous. It just took the one shot, and the amount of power he got on that one shot, impressive as hell. I never saw the fight going that way. As a guy that was more than willing to advocate for Peyton Talbott being a 16-1 favorite, I was never going to see a 30-second KO in the cards. I thought it would come body shots late round one. I thought it would come, when he wore him down and got tired, maybe the end of round two. I didn't think he was going to hit him with the very first shot and put him down that way. So I burned a little bit of money. I took the submission at plus 650 in that spot. We've done this before where you get like a massive favorite and you take the method of victory that nobody's expecting. And that's where you get paid on it because they use their other skill set that you just haven't seen yet. He didn't need it this time. Didn't need it. Obviously, had no concerns with Giannis Grimori. It feels good. We had a losing night, obviously, at 303, but it's nice that I've got one in the chamber because right now I've got 7 units at minus 147, and it's tied to my boy Umar Nurmagomedov, who fights in the main event at UFC Abu Dhabi. So I'm locked up for that card. I'm locked up for that main event. So a 7-unit bet that's going to cash me a little bit more than a 4-unit win is already sitting there pretty and ready to go. And while everybody else is looking for ways to play Umar, I'm already set. I just need him to get his hand raised that night. And I'm pretty freaking confident that he will. I love that fight. We'll talk about that one down the line. Obviously, there's a lot more coming. But yeah, Mac, that's exactly how you fight like a minus 1600. He paid off that one very, very well. Hey, Nigel Lee under 1.5 rounds at plus 150. That's beautiful. Beautiful work. See, and I know most people, myself included, in this right here, we talked about totals at the top of the show, guys. I was leaning over 1.5. You know what I mean? I was like, there's a chance he could, but like when you've got a total like that, you need your person to finish and do it quick because Giannis was never finishing Peyton Talbott, unless Peyton Talbott threw a kick and broke his toe and waved the white flag or some shit. Giannis was never the one getting the finish, so it was all Peyton Talbott equity. So I don't like to play totals like that, but I mean, when you're getting plus money like that and the kid comes out looking that good, holy shit. Like, yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do it right there. Everyone knows now, guys, the secret on Peyton Talbott is out. And this is where I like to have a little bit of fun with it. For all the bad calls I've made, I didn't believe in Kamaru Usman. I didn't believe in Khabib. I didn't believe in Alex Pereira. I've gotten it wrong a couple times. But I got early on the C-Rod train. I got early on the Peyton Talbott train. I mean, I was filling my pockets while everybody else was losing their ass on Peyton Talbott in his first couple fights in the UFC. So you know what I mean? Like, you win some, you lose some. That's just how it goes. That's the game. I feel good that I caught Peyton Talbott right out the gates, and nobody can take that from me because I was pounding my chest and trying to scream from the mountaintops that people better wake up about this kid. Now they know. Now they know. I'll never get the credit, but they owe me a little bit of credit. Charles Jourdain and Gene Silva up next. Holy shit. So Gene Silva, I got to recalibrate, guys. He's another one that I looked at and was like, I leaned Jourdain all week. All week, I leaned Jourdain. I was just like, he's taller, he's longer, he's willing to bang it out. You got to worry about the IQ sometimes, but I think he's got the more well-rounded skill set. Silva's a little wrecking ball, guys. He's got more power, I think, than we expected, or at least more than I expected. I was never the one who was going to the window with Gene Silva this week. I ended up passing on it. Thank God. Props to you, Dream, in the chat right there. Everybody that got in on Gene Silva to go ahead and get the cash, congratulations. It wasn't going to be me. I decided to stay off because I had plenty of other spots. I had more comfortable spots. And Gene just did the damn thing. And finishing a guy like Charles Jourdain with strikes is impressive as hell. That guy likes to bang. Jourdain is a warrior. He's a guy that's more than willing to go out on his shield, and not many people can make him go out on his shield. So this was another wake-up call. Gene Silva looked incredible and did something not many people can do. So that was absolutely fantastic. Cub Swanson and Andre Fili. This one's pain, man. This one is maximum pain. Your boy went ahead and pulled the trigger on Cub Swanson. Plus 200. And this looked like Cub minus 150. Like, I know people give me shit about value bets and, you left holding the bag, only winners matter and count. But you could not have felt good at the end of that fight with a minus 215, minus 250 Andre Touchy-Fili ticket in your pocket. No way in hell you felt comfortable in that spot. You were sweating your balls off. And I thought I won. I really felt like Cub Swanson won that fight. He was landing the bigger shots. He had Fili rocked several times. And if you guys remember, I talked about the right hand. I was like, Andre Fili simply does not see the right hand. And Cub figured that out about halfway into the second round. He was hunting the right hand, and he landed it over and over and over again. I'm actually really surprised that Fili's chin held up, because the quick turnaround coming off a knockout loss the way he did, this was a war, and it was a very closely contested war with Cub landing big shots. I thought Cub did enough to get his hand raised, guys. I really did. And that's not even bet goggles. Like, I really straight up thought he won the fight. So I'm a little disappointed. That's one where, 1 unit shot plus 200 dog. Good bet. I mean, I got plus 220. I beat the market on that one too. So I felt really good about that spot. Hey, I'm glad it wasn't just me. Nigel Lee was saying that Cub did go ahead and win the fight. So I'm glad it wasn't just me. But at the end of the day, it was a close fight. You know what I mean? It was a close decision. And you always want to be on the plus money side. If I hear split decision, I don't want to be laying minus 250. If I hear, Martin Buday, if I hear split decision, I want to be flipping that coin at plus 200 instead. I feel damn good about that. Damn good about that. All right. That's one. See, and those are the types of bets where I'm like, I feel good about my reads. I feel good about where my head's at. Easily could have flipped at plus 220 right there in that spot. Joe Pyfer, what do we got to say? What do we got to say? Bounce back spot, called it a mile away. And I wish I had made more money on Joe Pyfer this week, guys. I parlayed him up with Martin Buday, and I put him in a box, and I went, you know what? That's a casher. Set it off to the side. We don't got to think about it. Pyfer could have been a fucking anchor this week. Pyfer inside the distance could have been a double down on, hey, not just money line, but also we're going to cash on him getting the finish. I mean, like, I talked about how this was a reset. I talked about how the UFC gave him a guy that was going to walk forward and eat shots. And this was literally a matchup spelled out for Joe Pyfer to win and get back on track. And sure enough, it played out exactly like that, and even more impressively than I expected it to. 1 minute and 25 seconds is all it took for Pyfer to go ahead and put Marc-Andre Barriault down. Sorry, Zelda Bug. I would trust you. You've earned my respect. I would trust you, but there's nobody to bet on this week. So you don't want Marc-Andre Barriault. He already lost, kid. Sorry. Mom's home, so she's getting all excited. So yeah, man, I really wish that I had made more money on Joe Pyfer, because that was, in hindsight, one of the easiest spots on the entire card. And I identified it. That's why I'm frustrated, is because I identified it as an easy spot and then I didn't make enough money on it. I got 3 units out of it, but I almost lost that on Buday. I almost lost those 3 units on Buday. I could have done more with Joe Pyfer. And I'm trying not to overplay the anchor, because that's the thing you've got to be extremely confident in, because it can backfire in a hurry if you don't get it right. So I'm trying to be careful with it. I didn't even need to make him an anchor. I could have, but I could have done more. You know what I mean? Even just 1 or 2 other bets to get a little creative with him or something like that. But hey, he was in my DraftKings lineup, so I turned $25 into 40 on that on that DK lineup. So I get a little bit of something there. For the main pay-per-view portion of the evening, Mayra Bueno, Silva, Macy Chiasson. Fuck. I'm so pissed. No. Ian Gary first. Sorry, guys. Ian Gary and Michael Venom Page. Maybe one of the biggest controversy on the card, right? Guys, I don't get this one. I don't get it. I don't understand. It was 1-3 Gary. It was 1-3 Gary. I'm so sorry. Like, people out there are screaming robbery and fixed fight. And then I beat this line move by a mile. I laid -130 with Ian Gary, and I told everybody it was going to close around -180. It closed at 225. Like, I beat the line move by a mile, and I called was going to get wide by the end of the week, and it was a perfect matchup. Just like the one we just talked about. MVP was brought in to make Ian Gary look good. That was the whole point. That was the whole point, was to make Ian Gary look good. Now, he fumbled that bag, but it was not a robbery. It was not a rigged fight. It was a matchup that was designed to get Ian Gary a dub. He almost fumbled the bag, but he still did what he needed to do to win. And that's what this kid's going to keep doing. And that's what, guys, you got to hear me. You got to wake up. Ian Gary is the type of prospect where they're going to keep getting better, and they're going to matchmake him appropriately for his rise. He's going to get the right matchups to improve. He will eventually get to a point where he ceilings out and maybe he takes an L, but this ain't it. And he's got so much more room to improve with his overall skill set. He's got the right mindset for it, and he's at the right gym for it. So the next time they get an Ian Gary fight booked, make sure you look real hard and real close at the opponent, because unless he's jumping up to fight a guy like Shavkat, he's going to win. If they give him Colby, he's beating Colby. Like, there's a lot of guys in the top 10 of this division that Ian Gary can and will beat. And especially by the time they matchmake him, it'll be another, 6 months from now. He'll be even better. And he's going to beat them. People are going to try to fade him out of pure spite, and it's not going to work. I lost at UFC 303. And this man right here could have fixed everything. I bet Ian Gary by submission at plus 1250. And guys, I have been talking about Ian Gary via submission since he made it to the UFC. This was my week. This was my spot. I told everybody he was going to grapple. I told everybody he was not striking with MVP. He was going to flex those grappling chops. He was going to take him down, and he was going to tap him out. Ian Gary had MVP in the deepest rear naked choke that I've not seen finished, I think, in my entire life. I don't know what he was doing. I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I could have finished that choke. Like, I know he was going for the grip where you basically what you do is you use this arm, the one that's not under the chin, you use it over the back of their shoulder as a lever. and that's what helps sink the choke in. But seriously, I feel like if he had switched to the grip where you go behind the head like this, that's the one that would have done it. Because once you get the cross up like this, there's no getting out of that. You're protecting your wrist with your chin. There's no fighting your hands out of that. You're protecting yourself in multiple different ways. And with the amount of time he had to back, God, I really just wish he had sunk that in, because my whole night's different. I'm not sitting here telling you guys I took an L at UFC 303. It all turns around with a 12-1 submission prop that I hit, and I've got a massive winning night instead. So I'm frustrated. I am very irritated. And especially the fact that everybody saw that the sub prop's not going to be as juicy next time. They're going to be aware of the fact that Ian Gary can do this now. And I'm not going to get 12-1 on the sub prop when it does finally hit. I'm insanely frustrated. And people on Twitter, God, there's some stupid people out there, you guys. There's some fucking idiots out there on Twitter. I had some people trying to tell me that the submission prop wasn't a good bet in this spot. It's like, you don't know ball, bro. you don't know what you should probably stop betting. You don't know what you're talking about. If you think the Ian Gary submission prop at 10-1 or higher was not a good bet, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Vito, no, I don't know what the clown show is. Never heard of it. No idea what that is. Let's see here. Dirty Reg, at this point, he'll beat Usman. I mean, he could. Usman's getting old. Usman still looks like he's got it. Don't get me wrong. So I don't know if he's just gonna like straight up beat Usman that easy. I think Usman's gonna be fighting up at 185 more often than not now. And Bravia is saying Gary is the dude. I think he kind of is. I mean, to some extent, you know, he's still got raw untapped potential. He has not hit his ceiling. So I do think he's got more room to go up from here for sure. And yeah, Prodigy only up 3 units, sure, but I mean, just the massive swing from being down 9 to up 3. That's pretty big. Would have made a big difference to me. Up 3, I'd much rather be up 3 units. I would much rather be up 3 units. So yeah, it would have been a big deal for me. All right. So Mayra Bueno Silva and Macy Chiasson. This is where my night unraveled, guys. I was, after the Ian Gary fight, you know, I got the money line bet. I got the win there. So I was like, all right, we're okay. We're going to get on track. Mayra's going to win this. And then I'm going to be set to go for the rest of this card. And this was brutal because I faded the market. This was the biggest move on the entire card, not counting Peyton Talbott turning into a 16-1 favorite. Like, everyone and their mom was on Macy Chiasson. It came out of nowhere that all of a sudden everybody believes in Macy Chiasson. And as a guy who's bet on Macy Chiasson many times, I was like, guys, this ain't it. This ain't the one. Round 1 was intense. It was competitive. It was high paced. And those are all the things that you want from a Macy Chiasson fight, because she probably will end up having better cardio and taking over deeper in the fight. But Mayra had her hurt to the body several times in that first round. I saw a lot of reactions from Macy that was like, ooh, she might not be able to keep this up. But at any rate, good fight, good round, but Mayra up 1-0. And then it went to the ground in round 2. And yes, on top. So Macy was winning round 2, but Mayra was threatening with the submissions. She almost had that arm bar. That was the one right there. I thought she had it. When she rolled her hips over, I thought she had the arm locked up and this thing was going to be over. But she was just kind of catching her wind. You know what I mean? Mayra does have cardio issues. She can't go pedal to the metal the way some of these other women can. But if she lays on her back for a good 3 minutes without doing much in a round, she'll be good to go for the end of the round or for the next round. You know what I mean? She was catching her breath there. Not like anything was really urgently happening in that spot. And then one fucking elbow. One damn elbow. Macy Chiasson throws a gorgeous elbow in full guard. And how many times, and this is where it's MMA is the hardest sport to bet besides maybe baseball. Baseball is stupid. There's too many things that can happen. But MMA is maybe the hardest sport on the planet to bet because this kind of shit. How many times has Macy cut somebody open with an elbow like that? Never. How many times does that elbow land and not end the fight? It's like 99%. She hit her in the perfect spot. The skin ripped open, and it was a huge cut, guys. I mean, it's one of those ones where you look at it and you're like, holy shit, she got hit in the head with a baseball bat. Now the skin just ripped. This time, scar tissue, something, I don't know, the angle, maybe the Vaseline guy didn't do a good enough job before she walked out. There's a million ways that this could have gone. That elbow just lands and we move on. Ripped a hole in Mayra Bueno Silva's head. That's it. Fight's over. You know, I got to give Macy Chiasson her flowers. She won the fight. She found a way to win the fight. At worst case, guys, worst case scenario, it would have been 1-1 going into round 3 for me. And that was a huge swing. I had a massive bet on Mayra near even money, and very unhappy, very unfortunate. It is what it is. You know, we get excited about the good bounces when we catch those. We've got to just kind of shrug and be like, it is what it is when the bounces are bad. And that's MMA gambling for you. You know, all the people that bet on Macy Chiasson, congrats. Congrats. You know, you got the win. Did you deserve the win? Yeah, I can't say no. She did the damage. She got her hand raised. It wasn't a fluke where like it never happens again, but I mean, low probability. But again, it is what it is. She's the one who threw the elbow. She deserves the credit for getting the win. But Macy is never TKOing Mayra Bueno Silva. Silva was not hurt. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So I'm pissed about that. We'll see what happens next. Unfortunately, Mayra is nowhere near getting another crack at the title. I was thinking if she tapped out Macy Chiasson in impressive fashion, that I probably have a shot at my Mayra Bueno Silva to be champion by the end of the year. Futures tickets, those are dead and buried. I can go ahead and put a bullet between their eyes and bury them in the backyard because they're done. They're not happening. That's unfortunate, but it is the situation that we have to deal with now, sadly. So we got to move on. Mayra Bueno Silva is not going to have gold wrapped around her waist by the end of the year for me. Anthony Smith. And we got some comments. Okay. Vito asking about the NHL draft. I didn't get to watch the NHL draft this year, unfortunately. I was bummed about that. It was too fresh, man. My guys being over in Utah, the pain was too fresh. I'm gonna cheer for them. I'm gonna cheer on the team. I'm gonna be a random ass Utah hockey fan because those are my boys. But I did not watch the draft this year. It was a little bit too The It Factor MMA saying women's MMA, the easiest to bet on. You just bet the dog. And you know what? That's the underdogs this year have been women's MMA. More often than not, I subscribe to the same way of thinking. I'll be honest with you, It Factor, I really do. Most of the time when I'm betting women's MMA, I'm betting the dog. But this was one of those recency bias swings where I'm like, the favorite really should be the favorite. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Uncle Rico was with me there on Mayra. What is up, K Deep Montana? Thank you very much for coming to hang out. Really appreciate you. My guy, Dixon Sider in the house. Macy literally wanted to retire before this fight, and her coach talked her out of it. Brutal. Dixon, my guy, you got to go back to the beginning of the show. Dixon, I love you. Thank you for being here. You got to go back to the beginning of the show. Make sure you roll it back and watch the beginning, man. Oh, man. My guy D saying you got a big night coming. It's coming. And yeah, we did the anchor with Nate Maness the other day, and that was just a massive winning night for us. If favorites are going to keep rocking the way they are, guys, we'll find another spot like that. We'll find a spot like that. Oh, Dixon, what happened? My man, go back, rewind, and then join us in the present again after you catch up. So Anthony Smith and Roman Dolidze. Guys, so I've got something for you guys on this one. I've really got something for you on this one. Recency bias in MMA is a bitch. I talk about it, especially in women's MMA, all the time. I could not believe the amount of people this week that were talking about betting Anthony Smith. And don't get me wrong, on my Monday podcast, I also talked about wanting to bet Anthony Smith. I was like, I kind of think this is an Anthony Smith spot. But then when everybody coming out of the woodwork, oh, it's Anthony Smith this week. Oh, it's Anthony Smith this week. Roland Dolidze coming up on short notice. Smith is on short notice too, guys. It was like, I could not believe the amount of people that wanted to put their money on Smith when, rewind it back 4 weeks. I was one of the only people. Now, I know there were more of them, and I actually put out a Twitter post about this, and more people than I expected came out and chimed in that they were also there with me. But I was one of the only people who was betting Anthony Smith in his last fight when he was a 4-1 underdog to Vitor Petrino. I was one of the few people. I got laughed at. I got mocked. People were telling me I was burning money. There was no support for that pick. He comes through as a round 1 plus 400 underdog by submission. We hit the 14-1 sub prop. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, everybody feels like betting him against Roman Dolidze, a man who is a former 205er. Not just some random 185er on short notice, but a guy who fought the majority of his career up at 205. All of a sudden, everybody wants in on that. And the button, it just clicked for me, guys. It just clicked. I was like, this is the wrong side. And especially because all that friendly money was coming in on Anthony Smith and the line never budged. Roman Dolidze stayed a sexy minus 140. They were welcoming all the Anthony Smith money they could handle, and they were fine with it. And it clicked. So I did have a bet on Roman Dolidze. That felt good. It should have been bigger. The only reason it wasn't bigger was because I flip-flopped, right? When I started early in the week and I kind of speculated maybe a little bit that I might like the Anthony Smith by decision side, flipping all the way to wanting money on Roman Dolidze, historically, that's not been a good move. Historically, when my first read is one way and I end on the other side, I was usually right the first time. Just the little hairs on the back of my neck, that first off the top of my head read, something in my brain knows more than what my analysis knows, and it ends up being right. So I didn't want to go nuts, but I could have put a lot more money on Roman Dolidze, and I probably should have. So I'm happy for any of you who bet Roman Dolidze and cashed in that spot, because it was beautiful. It was beautiful. What the fuck was that? Oh, that was my charger cord. I should probably get that. I don't know how the hell that happened, but the computer will die in about 15 minutes if I don't plug that back in. We don't want to lose the show if I'm not done yet, huh? I've had that happen before, actually. A couple of you have probably seen that, where the laptop battery dies and I have to end the podcast early. Unfortunately, that has happened once or twice. I hate to say it, but it really did. Dick's Insider, my man, he went back and saw it. Got the shout out for the OnlyFans fade on Luke Thomas. That's what's up. Welcome back, buddy. Big way to start the day. Big way to start the show today. You gotta love it. All right, guys. Co-main event was Dan Ige and Diego Lopez. The chaos, the insanity. I mean, all the short notice fill-ins for Anthony Smith and Dolidze to be on the card. This one was even crazier. Like, we had a last-minute fill-in with Ortega. And again, I feel robbed a little bit this week, guys, because I could have gotten paid on Vinicius Oliveira. I didn't. I took the KO prop. I should have bet my girl Jillian. I didn't. I passed. I should have bet the spread on Carlos Hernandez. I didn't. I went money line. I should have made more money on Joe Pyfer. I didn't. I had him in one parlay. I should have cashed Ian Gary sub for 10 units. I didn't. He won a decision, and he almost got the sub 6 different times. I probably should have cashed Myra Bueno Silva. I felt like I was going to. I know we can't project out the rest of the fight, but I felt like I was going to cash a Myra Bueno Silva ticket. I didn't. It got stopped via cut. My Diego Lopez bet got voided. That would have been nice. Now, obviously, we don't know with 100% certainty that he was going to win the fight, but I felt fucking good about it. I was pretty sure he was going to win that fight. I felt really good about it. So that was disappointing, because he was a minus 250 favorite against Dan Ige. And actually, live at the sportsbook that night, I tweeted, I was like, man, this really feels like a Diego Lopez decision situation with the short notice nature, Lopez having to cut to 145 and then getting the midnight phone call that, oh shit, can't make 145. It's going to be 155 now, rehydrating up, and then having Ige come in off the couch and the fight being at 165. So quick, eat some pasta. Like, he had to weigh in 3 different times at 3 different weights. The emotional toll that had to take on Diego Lopez, and then to still get in there and perform. I mean, guys, Dan Ige is a tough son of a bitch. This is a fight that very easily could have ended with Diego Lopez unconscious on the canvas. We're lucky for Diego to get his hand raised at the end of this, because he was sick on fight week. He had a tough weight cut that his opponent did not have to complete. He had a midnight rehydration, which let me tell you is not good for the body and for your sleep schedule. And then he had 3 different opponents. So multiple switches, no time to game plan. And then he's fighting a tank of a power puncher who, while he may not have been like in training camp, is always active, has great cardio, hits like a truck, and now has a 10-pound weight advantage on him. Like, this, would anybody have blamed Lopez for losing any of these spots? He's a boss, guys. Like, he's an absolute baller for coming through all of that, saying yes every single time, and then still getting his hand raised. I mean, I thought he was going to get TKO'd in round 3. When Dan Ige had more sauce than him in the 3rd round, it's like, well, no shit. No shit he had more juice in the 3rd round. This guy went through hell and back to be here. And Dan Ige just came off the couch and probably had a sparring session the day before. He was feeling good, you know? So all hats off to both guys. I mean, hats off to Dan Ige for being a BMF and coming in that late to a fight. I mean, it really was like a no-lose situation for Ige. Worst case scenario, he loses a fight, cashes an extra paycheck, and gets all the pats on the back. So, like, still, though, stepping in to fight a guy like Lopez, very dangerous, not easy. And he showed the kind of guy he is for being able to go 15 minutes and almost get the finish in that kind of a fight against that kind of a guy. But more than that, hats off to Lopez for going through all of that and still getting his hand raised by any means necessary at the end of it. But because of all those changes and all those switch ups and all that stuff, I was like, man, I think Dan Ige's never been finished, guys. He's never going to get finished. I don't think it's humanly possible to finish Dan Ige. So with all of that considered, I was like, I think Lopez is going to do whatever it takes to win. And that's going to mean maybe at the end he gets a little tired and grapples, and it's just not going to be a spot where he finishes. So I know a lot of people that went to the Subwell with Lopez on short notice when DK opened up the props, and I was like, no, I think decision. But I didn't bet it. I didn't put any actual money on it. It was just a spur of the moment prediction when it happened, because this happened literally as the main card was getting started and coming together. So, I didn't want to get in on anything crazy or donate, on a night like that where I just randomly was like, no research, no nothing. Here's what I think. Go put money on it. Like, probably should have, I guess, huh? It was like plus 260 or plus 250 or something like that. So, I guess probably would have been a good bet if I had had maybe a little bit more time to look at it. Maybe we pulled the trigger, but really excited for both guys. Really happy with both guys. Really excited that Diego Lopez gets to continue his rise. After this one, though, I hope he takes just a little bit of time off, because I want his next fight to be full health. I want his next fight to be all the way ready. Nothing crazy. Let the man have a regular camp, a regular weight cut. Get in there with somebody who he's supposed to be fighting. I don't want him to get derailed on a situation where he takes another crazy spot or something like that. That would absolutely be nuts. Let's see here. If Factor's saying, I'm going to be honest, the way Lopez looked that night, Ortega would have smoked him. But I mean, maybe, but Ortega literally pulled out that night. What was Ortega going to look like? He got sick. He didn't get cleared. He couldn't fight. I think it would have been another Anthony Smith and Dolidze type of situation, man, because Ortega very obviously was not 100% either. The guy was not intending to fight and made himself sick trying to make weight. So I think Diego Lopez would have done what he had to do in that kind of a spot too. It probably would have been hairy. It probably would have been nasty. It wouldn't have been impressive or, anything like that. But I do think he would have ended up managing to get his hand raised. But again, we don't know the future. Maybe you're right. Maybe Ortega did have what it takes to dig through that. But I don't know, man. A healthy Dan Ige, if he can't pull it off, I'm not sure a sick Ortega would be able to. So who knows? Let's see here. Catching up on this. Air Dog, what's up? Happy Canada Day, my friend. All my friends to the north. Happy Canada Day. I got a lot of friends to the north. You guys know that? Believe it or not, it seems like I'm in with the Canadians. Honorary. It's because of Jillian. Thank you. Let's see here. Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka. The one I didn't want to talk about.
Son of a kid! Hey, Marshall! You ever get tired of being wrong? I do! I really do! I'm tired!
So, Obviously, I've been wrong about Alex Pereira a lot, you guys. And this one was intentional, and more so intentional than the others. Somebody posted out a tweet. They were like making fun of me. They're like, "Can you believe this guy actually lost like 12 units betting against Alex Pereira?" And I had to correct him. It's 19. It's 19 units. Guys, to put that in perspective, I am down, and I got to tally up the record. I am down in the ballpark of 24 units for 2024 right now after this weekend. 19 of those are betting against Alex Pereira. If I had just not bet against Alex Pereira, I'd be doing okay this year. My God. So obviously I have not had a good read on Alex Pereira. And if any of you guys did watch the Monday show last week, I said two things. The last time we did this, I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to fade Alex Pereira. But just prior to that, before the Jamal Hill fight, I said if they ever rebooked Yuri and Alex, I would bet Yuri again because I felt like that fight was going his way. I felt like he was the more well-rounded fighter. I felt like he had the better cardio. I felt like he was more durable. Yes, more hittable, but I thought he was more durable. And I may have gotten a lot of those things wrong, right? But I said I would bet him if they ever ran it back. And for me, like I said, guys, first and foremost, I'm here for a good time, right? Like, I'm not telling you I'm the best capper in the world or anything like that. But going from having the confidence to put a max bet on Yuri Prochazka against Alex Pereira the first time to putting 1 unit on him because I promised you I'd bet him, that just doesn't feel genuine to me. That doesn't feel right. And I don't even think I would have felt good about the win. You know what I mean? Because if I dropped 7 units the first time they fought, and let's say Yuri won the rematch, let's say we've got the trilogy, right? But I only made 1.4 units when they ran it back because I didn't have the confidence to stick to my initial read, because I didn't trust my balls enough to put the money on the line to actually get back what I lost the first time. You know how hard I would have been kicking myself? You know how disgusted I would have been with myself to win 1 unit, still have a losing night at UFC 303, and be right and watch Alex Pereira get derailed and be the only guy in the room cashing a ticket and have it not fucking matter? Couldn't do it. Had to be a big bet. And not because I was as bullish as the first time around, but because I had to stick to my guns. So that's why I bet what I did against Alex Pereira this weekend. I didn't like it nearly as much as I did the first time. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't as bullish on it. I wasn't as excited about it, but I had to. I'm done. One of the things that I've talked to you guys about a lot over the last couple of years, it's maybe my favorite gambling term, recency bias. When you see something and you expect it to go the exact same way the next time, or your opinion drastically changes because of the last thing you saw, not the entire span of what you know about this person, but their last performance. That's how you get in trouble in this sport. Anthony Smith is a perfect example about that. All the money on Macy Chiasson is a perfect example of that. People trying to fade Joe Pyfer, perfect example of it. Recency bias is a bitch. And I've made a ton of money from recognizing when the market has recency bias. But one thing I do not talk about a lot, and really haven't had many opportunities to talk about, is confirmation bias, guys. And I don't know, some of you may not know that term. Confirmation bias is when you think a certain thing and you find ways to make yourself right. It's a head thing. It's all up here. And I had some of the biggest confirmation bias on Alex Pereira we've ever seen. Let me break this down for you guys. So when he first got to the UFC, we've got a kickboxer who can't grapple. I am all gung-ho and ready to fade this man first opportunity against a grappler because they're going to expose him. And that might have worked, but they gave him strikers. So he's not going to lose that way, right? But when he gets to Israel Adesanya, I'm thinking this isn't a kickboxing matchup. This is an MMA fight. I think Israel Adesanya is the greatest in the world, right? I don't know that this rando kickboxer who's older, who's longer in the tooth, is going to be able to come back and compete with current form Israel Adesanya. So I'm all on the Israel Adesanya train at that point, right? So I bet Izzy, and their first fight is a 5-rounder. Izzy is winning that fight, guys. Israel Adesanya is beating Alex Pereira in that fight. And in round 5, at the buzzer, this man lands a punch that ends the fight. The referee steps in and waves it off. Israel Adesanya is not unconscious, but the ref had seen enough. He wasn't responding well enough, so they waved it off. Now, to me, I said I was on the right side. I was on the right side. Izzy was winning that fight, and he just needed 2 more minutes, and I cashed my ticket. I felt good about that. They run it back. I did the tape study, and I've told you guys how many times Israel Adesanya landed his right hand. Over every single kickboxing match they've had, over the MMA fight that they had, Izzy landed the exact same counter punch over and over and over. And even in their first MMA fight, he hurt Alex Pereira with that right hand, that counter shot. And I said, Izzy's going to go out there with nothing to lose. Izzy's going to go out there and he's going to bite down and he's going to sit on that right hand and he's going to end this fight with a knockout because Alex Pereira has been this close. He hasn't been knocked out much, but he's been this close to being knocked out more times than I can count. Izzy's going to do it. And guess what happened? Your boy was right. I cashed on Israel Adesanya winning the rematch. I cashed on Israel Adesanya by knockout, and I got my confirmation bias. Izzy did exactly what I thought he could do, exactly what I said he would do. And it happened that night. And that has cost me ever since. Because I said, confirmation, there's one shot that is a quick KO on Alex Pereira. Confirmation that he's not that good and he just won on the night because of a left hand. Confirmation that he's chinny as shit. And when he moves up to 205, I'm going to be able to fade him. I got all I wanted in that spot, and I cashed too many things. I'm so confident that he was going to be not as good as people thought. And then when the hype goes through the roof, you guys know me, I'm bucking the trend. I don't want to be on the hype train that everybody else is on. So it's the perfect time to get value, to get good numbers, to bet against the guy, because everybody and their mother is convinced he's the next coming when I know for a fact he's not. I overlooked some things. Alex Pereira has evolved. And Dirty Reg, no. I am not overthinking things. Dirty Reg, this is an open and honest evaluation of my shortcomings as a gambler. I've thought about this a lot. And I've lost a lot of money betting against this one man. And I'm telling you guys exactly why. I did this to myself. And this is a inflection. This is looking into myself and letting you know where I went wrong. This is what's plagued me with this man and why I've continued to bet against him. And I'm telling you guys all of this because it's true. And it's my own fault. So I did not give the man credit for the way he's filled out at 205. He's a massive 205er, you guys. I'm thinking this guy who's fought at 185 pounds his entire career, he's chinny, he's skinny. When he goes up to 205, he's going to be facing guys that are that are hitting harder than Israel Adesanya. There's no way he's going to take those shots. He's filled out at this weight class, and he's bigger than most of the 205ers. Frankly, no wonder he was chinny a little bit at 185. That weight cut sucked. This man potentially could fight at heavyweight. It's insane that he made 185 in the first place. So he's better at 205. I think you could argue that he's a better human being at 205. He is more durable. The power has translated. And on top of that, he's done nothing but work with top tier MMA fighters to round out the skill set. So yeah, I mistook all of that. All right, not I mistook all of that. I was willing to look past all of that. I was willing to shelve all of that. I was willing to put all that off to the side because I knew I'd get him. So my mistake, guys. It's on me. I've done this to myself. I hurt myself, and I had one good read on Israel Adesanya one time, and I have paid back the money I made that night tenfold because I kept thinking I would get that same opportunity. I also think there's an argument to be made that the level of competition at 185 is a hell of a lot stiffer than the level of competition up at 205. 205 is thin. Getting these in-betweener type of guys that fit 205 but not heavyweight, it's tough. They are not necessarily as skilled. 185, a lot of the lower weight classes, especially like 145, 155, those are some of the most talented and skilled fighters on the planet. It's thinner when you get up a weight class. So I actually think there's also something to be said for 205 being a weaker division in general than 185. But I looked past the weaknesses of the guys that Alex was fighting because I felt like I would still get one over on him. My confirmation bias bit me in the ass hard on this guy. Now, like I said, this last bet against Yuri, it was a little bit of a different story. I did it knowing full well what I was getting myself into. I did think Yuri was going to win, but a completely different situation. At the end of the day, I'm done. I'm done. Alex Pereira is more of a man than I ever expected he would be in the world of mixed martial arts. And I'm done betting against him. I'm done thinking he's not going to do something because he's done everything and then more. He's making a very real argument for being one of the GOATs in MMA, and he's done it in like 2 years. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Lock Day asking what's next for Alex. You know what? I would love for him to knock out John Jones. You guys know I'm the biggest John Jones hater on the planet. I would love for him to knock out John Jones. I don't know that it's happening, though. My worry is he's gotten better with jiu-jitsu, and he's able to defend terrible takedowns from non-wrestlers at 205. I worry about heavyweights who are bigger, thicker, and have double legs on a guy like that. He might get out-wrestled from bigger, stronger guys. I don't know that Ankalaev's the guy. You guys know I'm an Ankalaev hater. I don't think Ankalaev is the guy to give Alex Pereira a run for his money. And I promised on Twitter, guys, I know what happens when I switch up. When I've got all these angles on somebody and I flip sides and suddenly support them, all of that stuff comes back like a curse. And that's the fight I would have cashed all my tickets on. But I'm betting on them instead of against them this time. And that's when I lose. Every time. Never fails. I did it to Cody Durden. I'm not going to bet on Alex Pereira when he fights Ankalaev. Won't do it. Because if I do, y'all are fucked. And I said this on Twitter. I was like, you guys better be nice to me because I can just mush the shit out of all of you. If you guys want me to not bet on Alex Pereira and mush everybody, you better be nice to me because I'll do it. I'll have to pass on that fight so you guys can cash Alex Pereira underdog tickets because I don't think Ankalaev is that guy. I really don't. I just never have, and that's another one that maybe I could be wrong on, right? I could be wrong on Ankalaev as well, but I don't think he's ever been the guy. I would love it if Pereira knocked out Ankalaev just so I could see it and then moved up to heavyweight. Absolutely. And Dixon Sider already knows. He said, did your father-in-law tail on Yuri? He did! Him and his best friend Mark, the biggest mushes we've ever seen. They were sitting right next to me, and everything went okay the whole night. I actually made them money on spots where I lost money because they were betting my ideas and my thoughts. Yuri was the one spot the whole night where all three of us were in the boat. All three of us went money line on Yuri. And my father-in-law, he said, so guys, we were drinking way too much. My father-in-law, I love this man. We were like 12 shots deep at this point. I woke up like sick to my stomach in the middle of the night, Saturday night, because we had so much to drink and I had so much alcohol just sitting in my stomach. I didn't eat enough bread to like absorb it or anything. He's drunk. He already has a bad memory. The main event comes on. And these guys are walking out, and I've told him who we're betting 20 times, right? Like I've talked to him about who and why and what 20 times. And he looks and he's like, are we betting on that guy? And I'm like, no. That's Alex Pereira. He goes, we're betting on that guy. And he points at Yuri. And I'm like, yeah, Yuri. And he goes, Yuri. And he goes, donkey dick. Like he's got the thing on his, he starts calling him donkey dick because of his hair. He's like, it looks like you could just grab that thing if you wanted to. So my father-in-law and his best friend tailed and mushed me on Yuri, and Yuri's new nickname is Donkey Dick, and that's the only way he could remember who we put money on that night. So yeah, that was it. Yeah, I've told you guys, I've warned you guys. I'm gonna get them on the podcast, you guys. I've got to find a way to get their picks for a fight card so we know who's mushed going in. We've got to do this because you guys deserve to make the money that they could offer. They're better than any fade god you've ever seen. They're better than Trent. All you've got to do is find out what they're putting their money on and be on the other side. Guys, it was game 7 of the NHL playoffs, and the Oilers have all the momentum. They've won the last 3 games in a row, and my father-in-law goes, what side do you need to cash your bet in hockey? And I was like, I need the Panthers, man. He puts $10 on the Oilers. Panthers win 2-1. I'm telling you, I'm not making this shit up. It's gotten to be the point that it's just too good to not believe. It's a thing. Dick's Insider wants me to bring him on the podcast. We got to work something out. We got to get him on here somehow or another, because you guys absolutely should benefit from the special set of skills that these two men have. Guys, that's it. That's it for the show. We've got an hour and 20 minutes. It was supposed to be like a 40-minute pod. My wife's going to be mad at me because I was supposed to keep it short tonight, but I was having way too much fun talking with you guys. Best chat in the damn game. I know a lot of people say that, but I actually mean it, and it's actually true. I don't claim to be the sharpest or the best, but best, most fun, most awesome. That's you guys. That's all you guys. Make sure you like the show if you haven't already, guys. Please subscribe here to Home of Fight. And if you're not in the Discord, please join the Discord. The link is in the description below, and get in here on Bet Openly. I will have the week 1 tallies for those of you who are running in the gauntlet, the $600 giveaway that we're doing for Bet Openly. Week 1 is in the bag, and I'll get those numbers up for you guys either tonight or tomorrow. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. We've got a couple of dumpster fire fights coming up, but it is C-Rod fight week right around the corner. My guy Christian Rodriguez gets back in the cage, and I can't wait for that. So we got some good shit coming up here. We got some good stuff. No Thursday show, no Friday show. We will see you guys next week on Monday right here, Home of Fight. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Don't blow your bank rolls waiting for MMA to come back around. Be careful out there in those DJing streets, you guys. Let's roll. Love you guys. See you soon.